Grading the 2024 NFL draft classes starting in the AFC. The Los Angeles Chargers came out with a higher grade than the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to talk about that and more coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson, always on the ones and twos. You can find and follow me on X at DP_NFL. I am a senior draft analyst, and thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. It's time to give out the draft grades, guys. It's time to give out the draft grades. The AFC, we're going to start with the AFC East and West. Then we're going to grade the AFC South and North, and then we'll give our biggest takeaway. I'm going to give my biggest takeaway after the 2024 NFL Draft and how it pertains to the AFC Conference. But before we get into that, guys, today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and it is a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. As I said in the intro, said in the opening, the Los Angeles Chargers came away with a higher grade in the AFC West than the Kansas City Chiefs. And some people be like, what? How's that possible? Well, look at the grade. Ended up giving the Chargers an A+ for what they were able to do, right? We knew that Jim Harbaugh was going to come in here and want to work on the trenches. Getting arguably, a lot of people's OT1. He wasn't mine, but a lot of people's consensus offensive tackle one, Joe Alt, out of Notre Dame, getting him at number 5, taking him with the 5th pick in the draft, going and getting in the second round, Lat McConkey, right? I believe the stock is up on Quentin Johnston. I think Quentin Johnston, I've seen videos of what he's been doing this offseason. This young man's been putting in a lot of work, and I expect that to pay off for him. And I think he's going to be in for a bigger, better second year in the Los Angeles Chargers, or on the Los Angeles Chargers team and in their offense. But getting Lat McConkey just gives Justin Herbert that quick hitting option. You're talking about quick game, quick, short, intermediate routes, option routes where he can just get the ball out of his hands. Think about play action, slants, crossers, again, option routes, pivots, whip routes, different things like that. This is an outstanding route runner. A guy that knows how to use his footwork, his tempo, his pacing, and his suddenness and quickness to win one-on-ones. I really like the Junior Colson pick, right? A guy that Jim Harbaugh has some history with being at Michigan. They've needed to upgrade the linebacker position. They consistently needed to upgrade defensively. And Kenneth Murray, did not pan out for them. Drafted Deion Henley last year out of Washington State. I think Junior Colson gives them a true Mike backer that allows Henley to be just a see ball, get ball, a chase ball type of linebacker where he's playing on the perimeter, right? And he's out there laying the lumber. He's hitting guys. He's playing in space. And he's able to play fast, physical, and fearless. And I think that is the best way to go. I really like the Justin Egboigbe, the defensive tackle selection out of Alabama. Again, fixing this defense, being more physical in the trenches. Listen, for how long have we talked about the fact that Chargers need to get better in the run defense? Egboigbe is definitely going to help with that, with his arm length, his strength, his power, ability to hold up at the point of attack, but stack, peek, and shed. 100%. Going to Cam Hart. Listen, saw this young man down at the Senior Bowl, talked to him, spent some time with him. High IQ, not just naturally, but on the football field. More of a zone-based type of corner. Back to the sideline, side saddle bailing. He can do some press cover stuff. I think it's more matchup based due to his kind of like physical movement restrictions. But man, nonetheless, really like to pick getting Kamani Vidal, the running back, kind of filling that smaller, do-it-all type of back situation that you lost with Austin Eckler when he left in free agency for the Washington Commanders. Kamani Vidal showcased himself well at the Senior Bowl as well, catching the ball, running the ball, pass protection, all those things. And then two 7th-round picks. You're going to be like, DP, really 2 7th-round picks? Yes, 2 receivers, Brendan Rice and Cornelius Johnson. I think both of those guys have a chance to make an impact on this team. And they got 2 guys that are very, very underrated when it comes down to their skill set, their size, everything they bring to the table. Let's jump to the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, trading up, playing chestnut checkers with the Buffalo Bills, getting Xavier Worthy, grabbing Kingsley Suamataia, their left tackle, that can start right away, and I expect him to at least. Jarrett Wiley, the tight end in the 4th round. But listen, this pick here, Jaden Hicks, I love it. Getting Spags, Jaden Hicks, the safety out of Washington, one of the most fearsome and physical hitters and tacklers in this class. He plays big dime linebacker, nickel linebacker. He plays in the slot, plays strong safety, low hole, talking about in zone and everything. Man, and here's a guy. Listen, remember this name, Kamal Haddon, right? Big, physical, coverage, versatile corner. I think that Spags could also have a lot of fun scheming around this young man's skill set, but also developing him as a corner. Gave them an A. So it's an A+ and the A. All right. It's not that much of a difference. But let's keep going with the AFC West. Broncos got a C, getting your quarterback in Bo Nix. I really like grabbing Troy Franklin in the 4th. Surprised he was there. Chris Abrams' dream. Listen, if DeJuan Mathis does not return to 2022 form, 2021, whichever year it was when he had a really strong year coming out of college, if he doesn't have that strong year as your outside corner and Chris Abrams' dream more projects better and more so as a nickel, you can kind of be in a little bit of trouble, but solid pick. Audric Estime is a solid pick. I would like to see a more explosive pass catching back here to pair with Javonte Williams as well. I like Devon Vele and the potential route running, patience, body angling, and body positioning to snap off at the break point in the opposite direction. I think there's a solid average, draft class. And if Troy, especially if Troy and then Jordan Anderson the 3rd, but if Troy and Devon Vele can hit and upgrade that wide receiver core, that's big time news. The Las Vegas Raiders, let's close out with them. They ended up getting a C as well, a solid average, class. Brock Bowers, elite prospect, but it is a weird fit considering that you drafted Michael Mayer with like the 35th pick in the draft in the 2nd round last year, right? I could devise a plan. I can envision an angle and plan on how they're both on the field at the same time. But listen, at the same time, it's projecting, and we typically in the scouting community we can get in trouble projecting what the NFL is going to do, even though we think this will be a good idea. And how you should use certain guys. The NFL, it's a league that they roll by the beat of their own drum when you think about their coaches. So it's going to be interesting to see how they utilize Brock Bowers. Jackson Powers Johnson, getting him in the 2nd, getting the center/guard that can do it all, run, block, pass, protect. He's physical. He's gritty. He brings that dog to him. And this fits Antonio Pierce's whole mantra mentality of physicality. Zamir White, man, stock up, baby. Stock up for my guy, Zamir White, all right? DeMar DJ Glaze, getting him out of Maryland, the offensive tackle. They needed another tackle. We'll see if he can start right away. I like the Dylan Law pick, getting the more versatile pass catcher out of the backfield, especially for Aiden O'Connell, who's going to either him or Gardner Minshew. It gives him that 3rd down weapon that can literally run routes like a slot receiver, right? And then you got DeCamerion Richardson and Tommy Eichenberg. I would like to see them go corner maybe a little bit earlier instead of getting the tackle there, get a high-end corner that can start right away. But nonetheless, a solid average class. Let's go as time running down this first segment. Let's go to the AFC East. So we're going to start with the Buffalo Bills. Traded down, didn't get Xavier Worthy. Would have loved to see the deep ball from Josh Allen down the field, 50, 60 yards down the field to a guy that runs 4.21, but they have some speed with Curtis Samuel. I like Khalil Shakir. They have Dalton Kincaid. They have Dawson Knox, James Cook. Getting Keon Coleman was big. I love that. I think their first 4 of their first 5 picks actually could be day one starters. Keon Coleman, the receiver out of Florida State, Cole Bishop, the safety out of Utah, Dwayne Carter, the defensive tackle from Duke, and then Cedric Van Pran, the center from Georgia, man. I think all of these guys can step in and make plays. I love the Javon Solomon pick as well. They did a good job. They ended up coming out with a B-, a good draft, guys. Good draft. Still, I think definitely knocking them for trading out the first round and kind of bypassing on Xavier Legette. Could have got Keon Coleman earlier. But, nonetheless, they did a good job. I like what they've done. The Miami Dolphins gave them a flat-out C, average class. The Patrick Paul pick in the second round, the Jalen Wright pick in the fourth round, a little confusing to me. I think Jalen Wright's going to be more of a 2025 play. And Patrick Paul, I like the tools, but I would have rather seen an interior offensive lineman here. I just talked about Cedric Van Pran going in the fifth round to your rival. You need to figure out this interior O-line for Tua, man. But I do like Malik Washington, friend of the show. I do like Taj Washington as well. I just feel like, man, if they could have used that second-round pick and gotten an impact player, interior offensive line. Jets, they got to see as well. Olu Fashanu, got to see where they play him. But agree, that was my OT1 in this class. Malachi Corley, I like the player, the run after catch situation that he's going to bring, that Debo Samuel-esque type of feel for Robert Saleh, the former San Francisco 49 defensive coordinator. This next pick, Braylon Allen in the fourth round, gap scheme, power runner downhill. I don't believe that's the scheme that they run in New York. I believe, if I remember correctly, it's more zone. So this is actually a little bit of a weird fit to me. So overall, solid class. Not a ton of needle movers for me. The New England Patriots got a C+, of course, getting Drake May, getting Jalen Polk, and getting Javon Baker, getting Jaheim Bell. Maybe he can step into that David Njoku role, right? Develop into that for Alex Van Pelt, who has that history being in Cleveland. But the third round pick was an absolute reach. Caden Wallace, I know Elliot Wolf, the GM, said maybe we think he's athletic enough to play on the left side. Yeah, that's kind of tough for me, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. But a C+, they did some good things. Just, I felt Belichick was still somewhere around there with that third round reach, guys. But listen, that's the AFC East, AFC West. Those grades ran through it. But let's get into the AFC South and AFC North. Their grades coming up next on Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball is in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every single game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Guys, it does not really matter. You hear me? That's $150, win or lose. You can bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks. All of this on an app that is safe, secure, and super easy to use. Guys, what are you waiting for? All you need to do is visit FanDuel.com/locked-on and make your first bet an automatic win. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. With the NBA round one of their playoffs underway and in full swing, guys, I'm so excited to watch playoff basketball. How cool would it be to attend a game, right? To watch your favorite team either on the road or at home. Gametime is an authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off with killer last-minute deals. All-in prices, views from your seat, their lowest price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. Speaking of buying NBA tickets, guys, the Orlando Magic and Cleveland Cavaliers are tied up at 2-2. The Cavs are hosting them tomorrow night on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. And you can get tickets on the Gametime app, guys, for as cheap as $25. $25 a ticket on the Gametime app. So listen, download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Grades for the AFC South for the 2024 NFL Draft. Let's start with the lowest grade, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I like what they did in round one, right? We gave them a C-. They were able to go in, they traded back, selected Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver out of LSU. Listen, you guys know that I'm higher on him than Keith is. I believe in the potential, what he can do. I've seen the flashes of hip sinking, breaking at the snapping at the break point, creating some separation. But the speed, the size, the athleticism, the ball skills, all of that out the gate is going to mesh well. And I like this because I want Trevor Lawrence to get back to throwing the ball down the field consistently to a big athletic weapon like he did with T. Higgins, like he did with Justin Ross early in his career at Clemson. He has always been better with bigger wide receivers. But let's before we go to the second round pick, let's jump to Jerry Jones. I like this pick because I like the player. Jerry Jones is a good football player. I think this hit, if he hits, and I expect him to be a good football player for them in that defense, really competitive, sticky corner, physical, can play press man, can play zone, can play off man, playing the nickel because he did whatever Florida State needed him to do, but a guy that can also play on the outside, an outstanding athlete as well. Javon Foster brings some physicality and toughness to this offensive line and to the trenches. They've got Jordan Jefferson in round 4 to help bolster this interior defensive line. But speaking of interior defensive line, second round pick, Mason Smith. You guys have heard me and Keith talk about him before. This was a Trent Baalke pick through and through. 6'5", 6'6", 305, 310 pounds, 36-inch arms. Listen, as a freshman, he was a freak of nature. This was a monster in the middle of that LSU Tigers defensive line, but he got hurt, and he's never been fully healthy, right? He believes that he is now. So for me, looking at this is a pick that I think it was a little bit of a reach, but at the same time, thinking about what he did with Trayvon Walker, right? The first year didn't look great. Second year, we saw Trayvon Walker take that step as an edge rusher, just as a pass rusher, and a nearly dominant force altogether. I'm not going to second guess Trent Baalke on this situation. I'm going to believe that Mason Smith, that they believe that they can coach Mason Smith to his ceiling the same way they're doing so and getting that trajectory with Trayvon Walker. So again, gave him a C-. I would have liked to see him go cornerback a little earlier, but again, getting Brian Thomas Jr., getting Jerry and Jones, I like Javon Foster. And again, looking at Mason Smith, that's going to be the one that really could alter this grade for me in the future. The Tennessee Titans walked away with a B, a good grade, getting J.C. Latham at 7. That's a pick I felt like you could have got Olu Fashanu because you needed a left tackle for your right-handed quarterback to protect the blind side. I've heard some talks. Maybe they try him at left. Remember what Keith said about, Keith's not here with me today, but remember what Keith has said about Evan Neal. He said Evan Neal is playing right tackle, but he's a natural left tackle. Let's not make the same mistake twice out of Alabama. Okay, guys? Let's play J.C. Latham at the right side. T'Vondre Sweat. You talk about a guy who was supposed to fall right off a cliff, and he did not even fall off a hill. He went second round, pick 38, big defensive tackle. You're in the division with the Indianapolis Colts, with the Jacksonville Jaguars can run the ball, and the Houston Texans also is a team that can run that stretch wide zone type of run game as well with Joe Mixon down that backfield. Yeah, getting to T'Vondre Sweat was a nice move. I like Cedric Gray adding speed and playmaking athleticism to that linebacker room, and then Jarvis Brownlee, man, just adding more depth to this cornerback room, as well as Jaquan Jackson. I think he can be kind of a gadget, run after catch type of option, quick twitch young man that could do different things in this offense that already has DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley. So overall, I think it's a B. I would like to see Olu Fashanu at 7 instead of J.C. Latham to play that natural left tackle role. But let's keep the game rolling here. We're going to go to the Houston Texans. Kamari Lassiter, Blake Fisher, Kalen Bullock, Cade Stouffer. I like those moves. I like those picks mainly because I think Cade went before Jared Wiley. I do feel like Jared Wiley would have been a little bit better passing fit for CJ Stroud, right? Especially in the middle of the field. But listen, don't get it twisted. Cade Stover, better blocker. He's physical, but also he's very, very reliable as a pass catcher. He's not going to separate a ton, but he will be able to play the ball at the catch point, helmet higher, great catch radius, strong pair of mitts. This dude has strong hands, vice grips. So when he gets his hand on the football, he's typically keeping it. Okay, that's typically how that goes. Kamari Lassiter giving him that CB2, opposite of Derek Stingley Jr. Blake Fisher, steady Eddie. Guys gonna step right into that offensive tackle role at the right side. I think you're preparing for for I think Titus Howard to walk away in the free agency, or you're preparing to kick him down the guard. Either way, you get your best 5 on the field. And Kalen Bullock, a guy that fell from grace from round 1 to round 3, the most natural fit for a single high safety. Outstanding range, 4'4" athlete. He can catch, almost anyone in any pass, catch up to any pass when it comes onto a angle. But at the same time, you want to see him just consistently be a better tackler in space. So overall, give the Texans a B minus after giving the Titans a B. And let's close it out for the AFC South with a B minus also for the Indianapolis Colts. Latu Latu, that's a home run. Adonai Mitchell, if you can get him locked in, man, I think you're right. I tell you right now, say goodbye to Alec Pierce, because I think he takes that job for sure. Tanner Bortolini, my guy, Tanner Bortolini. I love that pick because Ryan Kelly has battled some injuries. Anthony Gould bringing some more speed to this room, and he is an outstanding kick and punt returner. So I'm just telling you, Matt Goncalves in round 3. This team came in with a need at corner, and they didn't really address that, especially early on. Matt Goncalves, to me, was an absolute reach, and I felt like you should have went the best corner available here that fits your system, because I just don't. Maybe are you going to go back and get Stephon Gilmore out of free agency? Are you going to go and get Xavier Howard? There's some veterans out there, if I remember correctly. But guys, this was risky. This was a risky play. B minus for the Colts. I like what they did overall, but that 3rd round pick was a reach. Bernard Raymond did well enough to not need to draft a left tackle in round 3. So let's go to the AFC North, and we're going to start with the Cleveland Browns. They only had a couple picks. Michael Hall Jr., out of Ohio State defensive tackle, love that home run to me. Zach Sinner gives you some depth on the interior offensive line, some run blocking. Nathaniel Watson in the 6, a just boogie. His nickname is Boogie. Physical downhill thumper, and a friend of the show, Jamari Thrash. If you don't remember, go check the archives. In fact, a couple days before the draft, a day before the draft, he came on the show, and that's up on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Go check it out, man. Outstanding young man. Very, very talented. So they got to see overall solid things. They didn't have a lot to work with, so kind of hampered what they were able to do, right? But the rest of this AFC North, B+ for the Cincinnati Bengals, man. Marius Mims, Chris Jenkins, Jermaine Burton. I love those picks. McKinley Jackson. But I want to go to the 2 tight ends here. We have not seen our guy Joe Burrow with a legitimate tight end. I think both of these young men can turn into that. So B+ for the Cincinnati Bengals. I think Marius Mims is going to be a stud. That y'all know that's my guy. The Baltimore Ravens getting Nate Wiggins, Roger Rosengarten, Adisa Isaac, Devontae Walker, TJ Tampa. I love what they were able to do. Rasheen Ali, I would have liked to seen them a pick later. Instead of getting Rasheen Ali, get Tyrone Tracy Jr. running backs, former receiver out of Purdue. I just feel like that would have been a much better situation, a much better player with less injury history. But Nate Wiggins gives them TJ Tampa gives them more depth and starting ability at corner, as well as athleticism, height. Maybe TJ Tampa can move around and play different roles. Roger Rosengarten kind of steps in as day 1 right tackle to me, or it goes into camp and battles with Daniel Falele. Let's close it out with the winner of the AFC North. That is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Talking about dominating the trenches, Troy Fautanu, Zach Frazier, Mason McCormick, going a big 3 on the offensive line, man. I love what they were able to do there, getting Roman Wilson and Peyton Wilson. Also, Roman Wilson adding into that receiver room speed, playmaking ability, smoothness, no nonsense, sudden, deliberate. Those are the things I wrote down for him. Peyton Wilson, just an outstanding player. This is a Mike Tomlin type of player. So Steelers get an A-, Ravens get a B+, Bengals get a B+, and the Cleveland Browns get a C. So that is the grades. That's all of the grades. But what's the biggest takeaway? Well, I'm going to talk about that and more coming up next on the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. All right, game off. We got to pause it here and talk more about Monopoly Go. But I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. You've already talked about that. But there's so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with your friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with your friends to complete albums for big prizes, cool new playing pieces to travel with. Guys, plus Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every single day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot panchicle machine. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win and rent freezes. Okay, there's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench, go download it now, free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers, guys. Appreciate you. You know we love you here on the NFL Draft, the NFL Locked On NFL Draft podcast. My biggest takeaway for the AFC after the 2024 NFL Draft is that if Jim Harbaugh does not handicap and tie Justin Herbert's arm behind his back, and Jim Harbaugh gets the best of both worlds, his run game, and allow his quarterback to do his thing and be a star, they will be a big-time player in the AFC. I'm telling you now, I like their roster. I like what they've done through the draft. I like what they have. Again, bringing in Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator, I think he is going to have this defense flying on all cylinders, playing fast, playing physical, playing aggressive, and then again, get the run game going. Greg Roman's there, right? But you also brought in two former Raven running backs who know his system, Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. I know J.K. has battled back-to-back, I think, injuries that ended his season when he was in Baltimore. But, man, again, you can keep both of them healthy. Bring in Kamani Vidal. I'm just saying here, guys, like this team can put some points up on the board, and also with Jesse Minter handling the defense, it can also limit points. And this is the thing. The reason why I say if he allows Justin Herbert, let Herbert and Quentin Johnston get into rhythm. Let those guys grow together. I know Herbert gave him some great opportunities last year, and Quentin, I think, bright spotlight. I think things were just, he was a rookie, right? You give him that mulligan. Let's not throw him to the wayside. He's not washed. He's not a bust. None of those crazy things, right? We like to say these things after one season. You know how you guys like to do on social media. Talk about it now. Let's talk about it. But I truly believe that, man, if we as a community, as a football community, allow Quentin Johnston to just go out there and play football in 2024, I think we can see some special things from him, man. And I think Justin Herbert is the exact quarterback. I talked to a coach from TCU pre-draft last year. He said, man, if we can get my guy with a real quarterback, with a legitimate quarterback, talking about just in the NFL, right? A guy that's going to give him accurate passes, really, especially a big arm guy to allow him to stretch the field. I think, and we saw it start to see a little bit click. You start to see it click a little bit, right? It was with more Nick Eason rather than Justin Herbert, because he was already out for the season. But you start to see the deep ball coming his way. He was starting to catch more passes, get open. He was making some headway. He was making some moves here. I just think the Chargers could be major players in the AFC. And I'm gonna say this also, another quick takeaway, guys. Joe Burrow coming back, and then what they were able to do in the draft, just watch out for those Bengals, man. I think T. Higgins is going to be there. I don't know if he's going to be shipped off or anything. I think that ship has sailed, unless they're looking for a draft pick for 2025, which they could, right? Another really talented receiver group. But, man, Eric All, Tanner McLaughlin, I think both of those guys can come in and meet impact players, athletic, route runners, receiving ability, man. Eric All knows how to block. Tanner McLaughlin is more of a space blocker than a stationary man down type of blocker, and like gap scheme type of stuff. But I think Jermaine Burton as well. Woo, they got some dogs in that receiver room, man. And I think Jermaine Burton and having him with Jamar Chase, Joe Burr, as Keith likes to call him, and getting Chris Jenkins on the interior defensive line, him and McKinley Jackson to take over and try to replace the void left by DJ Reader. Yeah, I like what they've done. So keep an eye on both the Los Angeles Chargers and the Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC. I can't wait, man. I can't wait for the schedule to be released soon. It's going to be a lot of fun, guys. We're going to have so much fun this football season, with all things considered, after the 2024 NFL Draft. But that is the show, grading the AFC, guys. AFC West, North, South, East, all of it, the biggest takeaway. So listen, guys, thank you for making Logged On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. We're going to get into the NFC grades tomorrow and the biggest takeaway from the NFC as well. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.